Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie. Welcome back to another DraftKings DFS slate breakdown. Back with Champions League action. It feels like we've haven't had a Champions League slate in forever. I guess you can attribute that a lot to international break, but it is good to get back into it here. And we start off with our game lines, and it is a juicy one, two, three, four, five, six, seven gamer. So plenty of games to pick from. In terms of our biggest favorite, it is Man City minus 450 against Leverkusen. It is a little bit surprising to me that they are bigger favorites. They had Napoli playing Karabag. I'd expect Napoli to be in a better spot there, but the bookies always know. So we'll see how these games actually shake out. Other games on this slate, Chelsea and Barca, both plus odds there. That should be a good game just from a neutral perspective. Dortmund minus odds against Villarreal. Bodo and Juve, both plus odds. Marseille and Newcastle, both plus odds. Slavia and Athletic Bilbao, both plus odds. And then that is all the games. Like there's only like three minus favorites, and one of them is like a minus 100. So like there's really only two kind of big favorites on the slate. And then every game is largely a coin flip. Pretty exciting slate here as a result of that. In terms of our goal contribution odds, starting with City, Holland minus 425 for a goal or an assist. Just wild numbers, but like you can't really argue with them. And a bunch of like his teammates at minus odds as well. Marmoush, Cherky, Foden, Doku, basically whatever attacker kind of starts with him. But pretty good chances of getting a goal contribution as well. And Chelsea and Barca, Lewandowski and Yamal, both minus 100-ish respectively. Dortmund, it is just Girassi there who makes a ton of sense. He's kind of the largest, like all of Dortmund's goals they come from him. Like he's just got such a big goal share for that team. Napoli, bunch of guys at minus odds. Basically, whoever starts at striker, like Ambrosio, Hoyland, it's just all the they want to have the forward in minus odds, like Luca, whoever starts there will be minus odds, and the wingers as well. Long, Neres, McTominay too, who's like more of a 10, Politano minus odds as well. So yeah, Napoli, Man City, as you think, a ton of guys in great spots on those teams. Bodo and Juventus, bunch of guys at plus odds here, and what is more an even game as odds reflect. Marseille and Newcastle is just Voltamata on minus odds there. Slavia Prague and Athletic Club, another game with a lower goal total. So a bunch of guys who are just around plus 150-ish, which is very, very high odds, frankly. And yeah, that's the slate there in terms of our players. In terms of our projected lineups and set pieces, we are on SofaScore this time. I usually use ButtMob for projected lineups, but I don't think they're fully updated yet with what their projected lineups are. I think they just show kind of each team's last game, which doesn't really fully reflect the rotation that we see a lot of times in these midweek matches. For Bodo in this team, it should be Patrick Berg taking almost everything. For Juventus, it should be Yildiz, maybe Cambiaso, Conceição, Coop Mainers. He was kind of shifted to like a left center back role, which is pretty wild. Splitting with him. All three of them have taken at different times this season. I think my most likely guess would be Conceição, but like I wouldn't be surprised by any combo of those guys. Dortmund and Villarreal. Dortmund should be mostly Rierson in this team. Villarreal should be Pepe and probably Molero splitting. Chelsea and Barcelona. Chelsea should be Reece James and Neto. Barca should be Lamine Yamal and I guess Fermin Lopez splitting. Maybe Ferran. Like a bunch of guys who usually take or not project, like Olmo, Rashford, have taken a ton of set pieces, neither in this lineup here. Rashford, of course, is doubtful. They just expect Olmo to rotate out. So yeah, we'll have to watch that come actual lineup releases. For Man City and Leverkusen, Man City should be mostly Phil Foden in this team. Maybe Reinders takes a corner or two. Leverkusen should be Grimaldo and Alex Garcia splitting. Napoli and Karabag. Napoli should be, I guess, a Politano and Elmas split. Though Neres can take a corner or two as well. For Karabag, it should be some combo of Jankovic, Zubir, and Andrade. Bayram has taken a corner or two as well. So they're a bit of a messy team. Marseille and Newcastle. Marseille should be Greenwood and Emerson. Newcastle should be mostly Tonali. Maybe Elanga takes a corner or two. Slavia Prague should be mostly Sadilek, Provode. Maybe he'll take a corner or two as well. He used to be kind of the main guy, but has kind of lost that role as of late. Athletic Club should be mostly Baron Gare in this team. I wouldn't be surprised if Nico Williams or Jaragitha take a corner or two for them. So yeah, that's kind of set up of all those teams here. And as always, they're definitely subject to change. Like if Chelsea don't start, Reece James like ends up running in left corners, which is why it's always a good reason to check out the FSI Discord, which can be accessed through a subscription in the website linked below if you want up-to-date cores and set piece routines. Go and get the release of all the lineups here, as well as notes for every single soccer DFS that DFS slate at DraftKings offers. All right, now that the promo is out of the way, let us go price by price at these different players here. And it feels like kind of a lower cap slate here. Holland's only 10K, which feels what the was that? Which feels kind of low for him. Yeah, look at that. He hasn't been this cheap since match day one, which is kind of wild considering he's had a goal every single game. And now he's got one of his better matchups of his stretch run so far. I think in terms of odds, this is probably Man City's easiest match. Leverkusen just gave like 5 goals or something to PSG a couple of weeks back. So like Holland's in play, as always. Like we saw this goal contribution, honestly, speak for themselves. He's a good option. Noah Lang, who I like the matchup, but he is a little bit pricey. He has not started a whole time. He's only going to go 70 minutes, I'd say. Like he's not a 90-minute player. That's the worry there. But look, you can see he's got solid floor for his limited minutes here. I think he makes some sense here. You can get to that price point. I mean, Yamal is always a good option here. He's just solid. He's on just his best to be the next Messi, and he's doing a pretty good job so far. He's a good play. If he's Estevao, I just don't think he'll start. But like these top 3 forwards, all interesting options here. In terms of lower down, Pepe I like as a play, more of a GPP option, I think, because of the tougher matchup. Marmoush, Doku, whoever kind of starts with Holland here, I think are automatically in play. Yildiz, if you just want set pieces, say like Pedro Neto. Rafinha is super cheap if we see him in. He did come in off the bench over their last league game, coming back into fitness here after recovering from an injury. But I think he's an interesting little option. Politano, I like a lot at 6,800. Should have set pieces for Napoli. Another guy who is not the best with the minutes, but you know his role. He's going to have set pieces. He probably goes 70, 75 minutes. And the difference between him and Lang is he's about like 4K cheaper. There's a lot more you can do with that price difference with a Politano over Noah Lang. Savinho, like I said, all these Man City guys make some sense. Girassi, I think is pretty interesting in GBP. I feel like he'll get overlooked a little bit because of the better matches. We saw his goal contribution odds are almost in line with some of these guys on the bigger favorites. Like outside of Holland, he's probably pretty even with a lot of those Man City players, just because he's the focal point of this Dortmund attack. Other options, not Neres, who I like a lot if he starts over Politano. They're kind of super similar players. Politano does have priority over him, but if we see kind of a Neres instead of Politano situation, suddenly you're getting that Napoli set share for 1K cheaper. That's another thing to watch out for. However, if they do play together, like I said, Politano does have priority. Then he just kind of be interesting as just a cheap Napoli attacker. He's still not bad for this price point whatsoever. So I think you can play them together for sure. And Politano doesn't necessarily kill Neres' chances of being a decent option. Like he's still good. Just you have to know what he is in that situation. He's just an attacker. Basically, he loses a little bit of set piece floor. Other guys, Conceição at 5K, I think makes some sense in Voltamata, Luca, or whoever starts for Napoli and projected. It is Luca. Not been the best, but like it's a good spot for him. It's a good bounce back spot after what's been a pretty poor season for Napoli. So I like him a lot as a play, especially for as a budget option. Other guys I'm semi-interested in. Hogue, like if in case his Bodo game comes a shootout, he's kind of Bodo's main guy. He goes 90 a lot of the time, hasn't the last couple games, but he's had decent floors and shots. So I think he could be an interesting little GPP play, especially at that price. There's not a ton else here. I think Napoli, Man City, those are your 2 target teams. That's kind of those odds reflect here in cash formats mainly. Midfielders now, Cole Palmer still dealing with that injury, so he's out. Phil Foden, I like a lot. He's been awesome all of Champions League. Like I'll continue to go back to this play, especially if we get this lineup here where there's no Ryan Cherky in. Ryan Cherky's been splitting with Foden, almost a straight 50-50 split, which hurts Foden a little bit, but like there's no worry in this projected lineup here. Like Rangers, who is just I think a little bit less likely to kind of take on set pieces as a Turkey would. Like, look at these minutes 90, 90, 90. You love seeing that. It's so scary when your guys get subbed early and then you're just kind of screwed as the kind of chasing field slowly rises on you with guys who are still on the field. So like that's kind of something you don't really worry about that often with Foden, which is a nice little thing to have in your pocket here. McTominay, who I like a lot as a player, it's just tough to have him in DFS because his floor is a little bit lacking. He's basically a goal dependent attacker playing in the midfield. He gets a ton of Napoli's goals, but there's no real floor. They like that. He had 2 against Man City, 2.8 against Sporting. But then he has these big boom games like against PSV at 32 points. This is also the most he's ever been in terms of price. But like kind of a Napoli roulette piece and probably the most consistent one at that. I think he makes a ton of sense still. You just have to know what you're getting into with him. Turkey himself, if he hurts Foden a little bit, but he's just good on his own. Solid little player here. Not play a ton of minutes Champions League. Also started in the league, which I think maybe hurts his chances a little bit of starting. But if he does, like he's definitely in play. Ryan's kind of similar to Cherky, another guy who's just been pretty good for City. Been awesome in Champions League. Had kind of just that one bad game where he didn't start, but when he plays, he's been just awesome. He's gotten north of 12 points. Like 12 is his worst game. That's just straight floor against Monaco. Like I like that as a play. If he starts Elmas, I like a lot if he's in, just because I see him taking on the right-footed set piece options, right-footed set pieces. If we see no Lang in, if Lang is in, I imagine he has priority. Like what they could do is put Elmas in the hole, move Lang to the winger spot. Elmas just becomes kind of more of a just Napoli goal contribution exposure play rather than a set piece taker. But if we see no Lang, see that particular lineup, he should have set pieces. I think he makes some sense in that situation. Gross, if he starts, he kind of hurts Rierson, is the only kind of reason I think about him. I don't really love the role just because you don't really know what Dortmund are going to do for sure with him and Rierson in. He had most of their sets last time he played, but like I just feel like I can't count on that with Dortmund whatsoever. Tonali's a solid little option. He's just kind of raw set pieces as long as Trippier is out. In terms of like this mid range, I'm just not seeing a ton. Like this 5K range, I feel like is a little bit dead. The 4K guys, kind of same thing. I'm just not seeing guys I'm super interested in. Kostic though at 4K, I like that a lot. He's just kind of your crossing machine. Uh, like look at that, he's had what 7 points in 18 minutes, which is pretty crazy in Sporting. I like him a lot as a player. Other guys down here who I'd be tempted by. Sadilek at 3K, I think makes some sense. He just raw set pieces for this price. Joe Bellingham, I think is an interesting TPP play. He has some upside to him. Hoop Mainers, I don't like him in the center back role, so I'd probably stay away. But if he starts in the midfield, I think he makes some sense. But not a ton else. I think it's a pretty condensed midfield slate. There's not a ton of really good monopolies. All the matches are even, so it's not like you're matchup picking, which usually distinguishes these guys quite a bit. It's like, yeah, your Man City, Napoli guys, kind of the theme throughout here. So go position through position. They are your main guys to targets. Defenders now. Grimaldo, there's very few set piece taking defenders on the site, as you can tell just immediately. Like Grimaldo is kind of the main one. There is Reece James too, who is just not a guy who crosses a ton. Like all of his crosses are from corner kicks pretty much, and he gets subbed here and there, which is scary as well. And then you got the tough match against Barcelona as well. So like he's a set piece taker, but I just kind of put him on a peg or two below like Grimaldo. And the issue with him is that he's got the toughest matchup on the slate away to Man City. I like him as a player, but like it's just a tough spot to get to. I think he's in play, but it's not a crazy spot or anything. Miguel Gutierrez, who I am super interested in, projected to start for Napoli at left back here. If they play like with wing backs, like if they go three center backs, like what they do a lot of times they'll play Di Lorenzo as like a third center back, maybe Neres or probably Cano becomes a wing back. Gutierrez gets super high up the field, as we saw in the Frankfurt game. We had 16 points. Only we had 3 in clean sheet, granted, but he was a super solid floor. I like him as a player quite a bit here with this matchup. I think he's probably the best option on the slate. You look at the other defenders too, like Man City. Neither of these guys are going to be defender eligible in O'Reilly and Nunez, which really limits the options if you're trying to pick favorite defenders here. Which once again pushes Gutierrez up. And the other Napoli fullback, Di Lorenzo, like I said, he can like slide and play third center back, and it kind of kills him quite a bit. But yeah, Miguel Gutierrez. Like he is probably your best option in terms of matchup, in terms of kind of floor ability. He's probably my favorite defender on this slate. Ryerson now, he can be a very close second if we see no Grossin, no Svensson. Like if it's this projected here, it's highly likely he has Monopoly, which really interests me in this Villarreal matchup. I like him a lot. If Gross is in though, it just probably just kills him because you just don't know what they're going to do. And it makes like a Grimaldo, I'd be a little bit more interested in that scenario, just because you're getting sure set pieces, which you wouldn't do in that scenario. So I just watch out for Gross. If you don't see him, I think the all systems go on Ryerson. There is Di Lorenzo here, who, like I said, it's basically a third center back. He had his best game against Frankfurt, but like look at the way he's doing his points. He only had 2 crosses, 4 shots. It just doesn't seem like the most sustainable kind of format for points for me. Like he had 4 against PSV, negative points against Man City. Had the red card, of course. But I'm just not super enthused in a Di Lorenzo here. Cambiaso, I like a lot as a player, but another Juventus, another team was kind of sketchy set pieces, which affects him a lot. I think he's all right. Bodo's is a tough place to go because it is in the Arctic Circle, but it's just one of the toughest away matches you can probably have. The other guys I'm interested down here. Rico Lewis, if he starts, would be an interesting option. Emerson at 3,900. He kind of is like a Reece James that he doesn't have a ton of open play value, but you take him for the potential set pieces here. Got that hook against Sporting, which is unfortunate. But like I like the role here. I know he hasn't had really any boom numbers, but you look at him in League and he's been a lot better. So I don't mind going to him. Other guys down here who I have some interest in, not a ton. I think it's mainly center back punts, frankly. Like if Mazzocchi starts for Napoli, it'd be a godsend. 3K fullback. And then I think it's really like cheap fullbacks and center back punts here. Like I can't even find an example of a guy I like here. Just so ugly. Boril, he's a cheap fullback. Sure. That's just an ugly defender slate. There's no way to really sugarcoat it. Not a ton I'm super interested in. Mata, who plays as an attacker sometimes. I think he could be an interesting little option. People know him from like these Europa League slates last year. Playing like as a winger and being like a 2K defender, which was super enticing. Hasn't played a ton this season, but he's a name I'd watch out for ton of lineups. Yeah, and then not a ton else I'm super interested in. Goalkeeper, I'm just going to skip over that day as I always do. And in terms of a core here, I think you're starting with Politano is because he's a pretty cheap option. He gives you the affordability to get up to a Holland with him, a Lang, kind of whatever you really want. And then like I'm just gonna go off of these projected lines for right now. Like these are very subject to change depending on how team news shakes out. I'd go Phil Foden in a Monopoly lineup. And then as my last piece, I'd probably just go Miguel Gutierrez. If Ryerson ends up having that lineup, I'm gonna put Ryerson in for now because he'd be my favorite defender if we do see that lineup that we are going to use as projected for now. That's how I do it. But if Gross is in, I'd go Gutierrez over him. But yeah, that's all I got, guys. I wish you luck, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.